Okay, got it. This is Bob Dwyer with the Carbon Monoxide Safety Association. This is Sunday, March 8th, 2020. I just posted a few CO news story links this morning. I reviewed a few from last week and found some similarities. There are 3 CO alarm incidences, different households and circumstances, with some things in common. And we're going to take a look at those. But first, we have to make sure we know the health effects of low-level carbon monoxide poisoning. The health effects of low-level carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning is noticeable as a flu-like syndrome, yet it's seldom recognized to be the source of the ailment. We'll call it food poisoning. We'll think of many other reasons that these symptoms that we're experiencing may be, but we will not recognize it as carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is so invisible, it gets lost in our television ads for medicine, for some of the symptoms that you can get, or viral illness symptoms. It's the cold, it's the flu. Well, that's true. Early low-level symptoms can include nausea, headache, dizziness, achiness, constant stuffiness, changes in heart rate, sinus and head pressure, slower reaction time. Infants and children, their increased fussiness, just to name a few. Symptoms may vary due to overall health, age, sex, or weight of a person exposed, and how much CO they were exposed to, and for how long. It's important that we know the health effects of carbon monoxide, particularly the low-level symptoms. Those are the ones that we'll first start feeling, and perhaps before our alarms go off. Yes, that's correct. These news stories will help relay the importance of carbon monoxide alarm use, but more importantly, they'll help detail some of the issues we've been trying to get across to everyone for decades. The CO alarm you have is most likely a high-level detector. It will not alarm when you think it will, or it should. This first article from last week underlies the importance of understanding when carbon monoxide alarms sound and how we test them. In this case, this was a home for senior citizens, a nursing, rehabilitation and nursing center. There were 80 residents that had to be evacuated. Now, the issue came from a boiler, but there was not a detector in the boiler room or in the basement. There were 5 CO detectors in the hallways where residents live. However, those alarms did not activate Sunday. Now, the firefighters later tested those alarms, and they did work. He's unsure why they didn't work. We have to understand, when they say they're testing an alarm, you're pushing a button. You're not putting carbon monoxide gas on it. You're just pushing a button and determine that the circuitry works. So it's important that we understand high-level CO alarms. Now, we're going to list the following UL 2034 listed carbon monoxide alarm 3 test points, and they are the only concentration to alarm requirement to be verified before listing, labeling, manufacturing, and sales to the public. So look at your alarm. If it's a UL 2034 listed alarm, they have to abide by these rules of alarm set points. Over 70 parts per million and under 150 parts per million, the UL 2034 listed CO alarm must resist alarming for at least 1 hour when within this range, but it must alarm before 4 hours. So keep that in mind. This is a high-level detector. Your fire departments may be putting their breathing apparatus on at 30 or 35 parts per million, maybe even lower, but your alarm does not go off until it goes over 70 parts per million and under 150 parts per million, and it has to be in that range for over an hour, and it can take up to 4 hours for it to sound off, and that means it's working. The next level is over 150 parts per million and under 400 parts per million. It must resist for the first 10 minutes when over 150 parts per million. But it must sound off before 50 minutes when it's in this range. Now the next one is over 400 parts per million. It cannot alarm during the first 4 minutes when above this level. And that's whether it's in the thousands of parts per million, it still must resist alarming for the first 4 minutes. But it must sound off before 15 minutes when it's above 400 parts per million. Due to the mandatory delays in alarming requirements, your UL 2034 listed CO alarms are not easily verified in the field to respond to the CO alarm concentrations they're manufactured to respond to. To test the circuitry, you're told to press the test button or pad. If you get 2 sets of 4 beeps, we're informed that the unit is working. Now here's another news story from last week. Turns out the furnace was the issue. But these people wanted to make sure when they did the news story to the great Grant Tribune Sentinel. They said, we bought our detector last July, but there wasn't enough for it to detect an issue. They were getting, their eyes were burning. Okay? They wanted to let everybody in the community know that that's an early warning symptom of carbon monoxide. Their bodies were telling them something was going on, but their alarm wasn't. Well, and here's another incident where the family purchased a carbon monoxide detector just this last October. It failed to alert them, but the family credits it their baby for saving their lives because she fussed and awoke another child, and then that child heard an old carbon monoxide alarm that was 19 years old beeping in the basement. A brand new one didn't work. Children were fussing, woke people up. An old alarm made a noise. Well, you know, that's why we keep emphasizing over the years, you've got to know your carbon monoxide alarm. We take them for granted. If they don't give a digital display, you're really pretty much in the dark for low-level carbon monoxide detection. Now, a lot of the symptoms you may have, physicians, healthcare providers, I speak with them often. Even the new, young, under 40-year-old physicians, they have not been schooled on low-level carbon monoxide. They don't test for it. Hey, there is a billing code for it. You can get paid for it, but you have to test the symptoms. With coronavirus right now, the symptoms are discussed. 60,000 people a year die from the flu every year. Those symptoms are similar to carbon monoxide poisoning. Don't get hidden in the symptoms. At least you can eliminate carbon monoxide with the right detector.
Well, this is going to work out pretty good. My new TPI low-level CO monitor, the 780, it comes with a couple of posts that will securely fit the bump cap that I have, and I can put some carbon monoxide gas, one little spray into that tube. I'll just put my finger over it, and we'll see if it responds. And you can see I'm getting a very fast response. It alerted to levels of carbon monoxide in a very short order. I know it's working, not just to pressing a button and making sure that the sound is there. It actually made a sound when it had carbon monoxide put on that sensor. So that's a very easy test to do. The cup fits on my personal monitor, and so that makes it easy for me doing my inspections, going out on service calls or training, things that I may be doing, emergency calls. I can do the same thing with just a light little dash of gas. It captures it over the sensor. This particular model, it alerts me to levels over 25 parts per million. So again, hey, it's a pretty good feature, low-level detection. It's good to measure. It's good to know.
Well, that was the summarizing of March 1st through 7th, 2020, those 3 common stories we talked about. I just posted stories again March 8th. I'd encourage you to look and search through the archives. There's a lot of learning that can take place. Some of the news links may still not be active, but if you search for that story that's posted, I often and always find a live link somewhere regarding that story. Let's be safe. Every day is a carbon monoxide safety education day. I'm Bob Dwyer, Carbon Monoxide Safety Association. Yeah, I saw that one come in. I will post it tomorrow.